A forbidden confession on stage shatters the line between performance and reality when Jungkook's gaze for Jimin is no longer acting but undeniable truth. The spotlight fractured across Jungkook's face as he gripped Jimin's wrist and whispered, far too close to the live microphone, "If I look at you any longer, I won't be acting anymore." The stadium erupted, but the scream of 50,000 fans felt distant, like the ocean heard from underwater. The stage lights burned white and gold, fireworks cracked open the sky above them, and yet all Jungkook could see was Jimin's eyes widening, not in character, not in choreography, but in fear. They were supposed to be following the script, a dramatic pause, a teasing smirk, a playful shove. Instead, Jungkook's thumb brushed against the pulse in Jimin's wrist, feeling it race. He wasn't smiling the way rehearsals demanded. His jaw was tight, breath uneven. The music swelled around them, bass trembling through the floor, but something had shifted. The line between fiction and confession dissolved in the heat of the lights. Jimin leaned closer, lips barely moving. "What are you doing?" "I'm tired," Jungkook replied under the roar of the crowd. "Tired of pretending this is just fan service." The camera cranes swooped past them. The giant screens magnified their faces 20 meters tall. On the screen, Jungkook's gaze looked raw, almost desperate. Online, millions would replay that look, dissect it frame by frame. They would call it chemistry. They would call it acting. But Jimin felt the tremor in Jungkook's hand. The choreography forced them apart. The next beat demanded distance, synchronized movement, smiles bright enough to rival the pyrotechnics. Jungkook moved like muscle memory guided him, body sharp and flawless, yet his mind was unraveling. He had promised himself he would never do this. Backstage before the concert, he had stood alone in the dressing room, staring at his reflection. Sweat dampened his collarbone despite the air conditioning. He had a habit when anxious, rolling his shoulders, cracking his knuckles one by one. He did it now, staring at the version of himself the world adored. Golden Maknae, fearless, playful. A lie. He had always been too honest with his eyes. As a child trainee, he couldn't hide when he was scared. When the older members teased him, his hurt flashed plainly across his face. Over the years, he learned to mask it, learned how to tilt his head just right, how to let his gaze linger long enough to thrill fans, but not long enough to reveal the truth. But Jimin had always seen through him. On stage, as the final chorus thundered through the speakers, Jimin spun into Jungkook's arms. The move was practiced, precise. Yet when Jungkook caught him, his grip tightened beyond rehearsal limits. Jimin felt it in his ribs. "Let go," Jimin hissed softly, still smiling for the camera. "Tell me to stop," Jungkook whispered back, voice breaking. The crowd roared louder, mistaking intensity for artistry. Jimin's heart pounded, not from the dance, but from the realization that this wasn't a slip. Jungkook wasn't lost in the moment. He was choosing it. After the encore, the members bowed together under cascading silver confetti. Jungkook kept his gaze lowered. Jimin didn't look at him at all. Backstage, the corridor smelled of sweat, hairspray, and smoke residue from fireworks. Staff bustled around them, congratulating, laughing, unaware of the crack that had just split something fragile. In the dressing room, the door shut with a hollow thud. "What was that?" Jimin demanded, voice low but sharp. Jungkook leaned against the mirror, breathing hard. Without stage lights, he looked younger, almost fragile. "You know what it was?" "No," Jimin shook his head. "I don't, because we agreed." Agreed, the word tasted bitter. They had agreed years ago, after a night when exhaustion and loneliness blurred boundaries, a shared hotel room, rain tapping against glass, a confession whispered in the dark that neither of them could take back. They had drawn a line the next morning, sitting too far apart on the couch, promising that what they felt would never endanger the team. Jungkook laughed softly now, but there was no humor in it. "I agreed because you were scared." "I am scared," Jimin shot back. "Do you think I'm not? Do you think I don't feel it every time you look at me like that?" Silence thickened between them. Jimin was the braver one on stage, the flirt, the one who could weaponize eye contact and turn it into performance. Off stage, he was cautious. He had grown up learning to survive by adapting, by pleasing, by never becoming a problem. The thought of scandal, of headlines twisting their bond into something ugly, made his chest tighten. Jungkook stepped forward. I can't keep splitting myself in two, the version that loves you and the version that pretends he doesn't. Jimin's breath caught. You think I don't split myself too, Jimin whispered. You think it's easy for me. Their manager's footsteps echoed faintly outside the hallway, laughter fading as staff dispersed. Time felt limited, fragile. If this gets out, Jimin said, it won't just be about us. It'll affect everyone. I know, Jungkook's voice softened. That's what's killing me. He had nightmares about it. Headlines, betrayal accusations, fans feeling deceived. He loved their supporters fiercely, their trust mattered to him. But every time he locked eyes with Jimin under the lights, something inside him rebelled against the cage he'd built. I saw the way you looked at me, Jimin said quietly. The cameras saw it too. Let them. Jimin's eyes flashed. Don't be reckless. I'm not reckless. Jungkook's hand trembled slightly at his side. I'm suffocating. The word hung heavy. Jimin crossed the room, stopping inches away. He could smell Jungkook's cologne mixed with sweat and stage smoke. Familiar, dangerous. You think I don't feel like that sometimes? Jimin asked, voice breaking despite himself. You think I don't want to just... He stopped. Just what? Jungkook pressed gently. Just choose you, Jimin finished. The confession felt louder than the concert. For a moment, neither of them moved. The world outside the dressing room continued, staff packing equipment, distant cheers from lingering fans, but inside, everything narrowed to the space between them. Jungkook reached up slowly, as if approaching a wild animal that might bolt. His fingers brushed Jimin's cheek, not possessive, just tremblingly certain. I meant what I said, Jungkook murmured. That wasn't acting. Jimin closed his eyes, leaning into the touch for half a second before pulling back. If we cross this line, there's no pretending anymore. I don't want to pretend. Jimin looked at him, really looked, past the idol, past the polished confidence. He saw the boy who used to wait up for him after practice, who stayed silent during arguments but cried alone in the shower so no one would hear. Jungkook's greatest flaw was also his purity. When he loved, he did it completely. And completely was dangerous. A knock sounded at the door, 2 minutes for group photo. Reality intruded like cold water. Jimin stepped back, smoothing his shirt, wiping at his eyes quickly. Jungkook straightened, mask sliding back into place with heartbreaking precision. As they walked out together, shoulders almost brushing, Jimin whispered, "We'll talk tonight, without cameras." Jungkook nodded once. The group photo was bright and chaotic. Laughter, peace signs, inside jokes. Jungkook's smile looked effortless, Jimin, too. But when the photographer counted down and the flash exploded in white, Jungkook's eyes shifted, just slightly, toward Jimin. And Jimin, unable to stop himself, looked back. It lasted less than a second. It was enough. Later that night, in the quiet of the hotel balcony overlooking a sleeping city, the noise finally fell away. The air was cool, carrying faint traffic hum below. Jungkook stood at the railing, hands gripping metal, knuckles pale. Jimin joined him, closing the sliding door softly behind. No more stage, Jimin said. No more scripts. Jungkook turned, vulnerable, waiting. I'm still scared, Jimin admitted. I don't know what will happen. I don't know if the world will understand. I don't need the world to, Jungkook replied. I just need you to stop pretending you don't feel it. Jimin's chest tightened painfully. I never said I didn't feel it, he whispered. Then say what you do feel. The city lights flickered below like distant stars. Jimin inhaled slowly, the night air sharp in his lungs. I feel like every time you look at me, I'm about to lose something, he said. My safety, my balance, the version of us that's easy. And what do you gain? Jungkook asked. Jimin stepped closer until their foreheads nearly touched. Something real. The words settled between them like a vow. Jungkook exhaled shakily, relief and fear intertwining. Then let it be real. Jimin searched his face one last time for doubt, for hesitation. He found none. So he reached for Jungkook's hand, lacing their fingers together in the quiet darkness where no spotlight could expose them. Tatapan itu bukan acting, Jimin murmured softly, a faint smile curving his lips. That gaze wasn't acting. Jungkook squeezed his hand. It never was. They stood there not as performers, not as characters crafted for a stage, but as two men trembling at the edge of truth, choosing honesty despite the risk. The world beyond the balcony remained vast and uncertain, but in that fragile, breathless moment, they stopped dividing themselves. And for the first time, the silence between them felt like freedom. The city had not yet fallen asleep when the first notification exploded across Jungkook's phone. He was still on the balcony, fingers loosely intertwined with Jimin's, when the device vibrated violently in his pocket. Once, twice, then endlessly. Jimin noticed the shift immediately. What is it? Jungkook pulled his hand away slowly, as if detaching from something warm. He unlocked the screen. Trending worldwide. A clip. A freeze frame of the exact second on stage, his thumb pressed against Jimin's pulse, his lips close to the mic, eyes dark and unguarded. The caption read, "That wasn't acting." Jimin's stomach dropped. It's spreading already. Within minutes, fan edits multiplied. Slow motion, zoom-ins, the whisper amplified and cleaned of background noise. Someone had isolated his voice with frightening clarity. "If I look at you any longer, I won't be acting anymore." Jimin covered his mouth with his hand. They enhanced the audio. Jungkook's jaw tightened. He scrolled further. Speculation threads, heated arguments, support, denial, accusations of manipulation, accusations of queerness, accusations of betrayal. "This is my fault," Jungkook muttered. "No," Jimin said immediately, though fear laced his tone. "It's both of us." Another notification flashed. Management group chat, emergency meeting, now. The warmth between them evaporated like mist. Inside the hotel suite's living room, the air felt colder than the balcony. Jungkook paced, running his fingers through his hair repeatedly, a habit he'd had since trainee days when pressure overwhelmed him. Jimin sat on the edge of the sofa, elbows on knees, staring at the carpet, as if answers might form in its patterns. "Maybe we say it was scripted," Jimin suggested quietly. "It was. I know that." Silence again. Jungkook stopped packing. "Do you want me to lie?" Jimin looked up at him sharply. "I want us to survive." The words hit harder than expected. Before Jungkook could respond, the suite doorbell rang. Their manager entered with two executives behind him. The atmosphere shifted instantly, professional, controlled, suffocating. The manager's expression was unreadable. "We need to talk." Jungkook stood straight, shoulders squared instinctively. Jimin followed. One of the executives placed a tablet on the table. The clip played on repeat. No music this time, just Jungkook's voice, intimate and unmistakable. "If I look at you any longer, I won't be acting anymore." The executive paused it. "Do you understand what this implies?" Jungkook held his gaze. "Yes." "Then explain." Jimin stepped forward before Jungkook could speak. It was heightened emotion, final night energy. "We got carried away." The lie tasted metallic. The executive's eyes shifted to Jungkook. "Is that accurate?" Jungkook felt Jimin's subtle glance at him, pleading, warning. He swallowed. "Yes." The word felt like swallowing glass. The manager exhaled slowly. "We can frame it as fan service taken out of context, but you both need to be careful. No more unscripted whispers, no more prolonged eye contact like that." Jimin nodded immediately. "Understood." Jungkook's silence stretched too long. The executive leaned forward. We built something powerful, don't jeopardize it. Built as if they were structures, not people. After the meeting ended, the door closed with a heavy click. Jungkook didn't move. You said yes, he said softly, not looking at Jimin. You wanted me to say no, Jimin shot back, tension finally snapping, in front of them. I wanted you to let me speak. And say what? Jimin's voice rose. That you meant it, that you're in love with me, do you know what would happen? Maybe I'm tired of calculating what would happen. Jimin flinched as if struck. Jungkook stepped closer, eyes blazing, not angry but wounded. I just lied about the only honest thing I've felt in years. Jimin's composure cracked. You think I don't feel that too? His voice trembled. You think I enjoy pretending? Every time we laugh on camera, I'm terrified someone will notice it's not fake. Jungkook's expression shifted, pain overtaking frustration. You told them it was nothing, he whispered. I told them what would protect us. From what? From love. The word hung between them like a lit fuse. Jimin looked away, jaw tight, from destruction. Jungkook laughed bitterly. Maybe I'd rather be destroyed than invisible. The sentence silenced the room. Jimin stepped back, shaking his head. Don't say that. Why not? It's true. Jungkook's voice softened, but didn't lose intensity. Every time I look at you and have to pretend it's a joke, it feels like erasing myself. Jimin's eyes glistened. You think I don't erase myself too? Their phones buzzed again simultaneously. A new headline. Was that a real confession? Attached was another angle, closer, clearer, Jungkook's hand tightening around Jimin's waist. The comment section was a battlefield. Jimin felt panic rising, tight and suffocating. This is spiraling. Jungkook stared at the screen, then at Jimin. Something shifted in his gaze, not reckless this time, but resolute. What if we stop running? Jimin's heart pounded. What are you saying? What if we tell the truth? The words landed like thunder. Jimin stepped back as if physically pushed. You can't be serious. I am. This isn't just about us, Jimin's voice broke. There are contracts, years of work, people who depend on us. And what about us? Jungkook demanded. When do we get to matter? The rawness in his tone sliced through Jimin's defenses. I matter when you're safe, Jimin whispered, when you're protected. I don't feel protected, Jungkook replied quietly. I feel trapped. The vulnerability in his voice cracked something inside Jimin. He closed the distance abruptly, grabbing Jungkook's shirt, not violently but desperately. Do you think I sleep peacefully? Every time you smile at someone else for the camera, I have to remind myself it's part of the job. Do you know how that feels? Jungkook's breath hitched, jealous. Terrified, Jimin corrected. Their faces were inches apart. The tension between them was electric, volatile. You're not the only one who's too honest, Jimin continued, voice low and shaking. I've loved you in silence for years. The confession hung heavy and irreversible. Jungkook's hand slowly covered Jimin's where it gripped his shirt. Then, why are we still hiding? Because I don't want to lose you. You're losing me anyway. That was the sharpest cut of all. Tears finally spilled down Jimin's cheeks, uncontrolled. Don't say that. Jungkook wiped one away with trembling fingers. I'm not threatening you, I'm telling you how it feels. Outside, the city hummed unaware. Inside, everything felt like it was cracking open. Jimin inhaled shakily. If we do this, if we even consider it, there's no going back. I don't want to go back, Jungkook said. Another notification flashed. This time from a senior executive directly to Jungkook. We need a personal statement by morning. Clarify tone, reinforce friendship narrative. Jungkook showed it to Jimin. Friendship narrative. Jimin let out a hollow laugh. They're already writing our feelings for us. Jungkook's thumb hovered over his phone screen. "What are you doing?" Jimin asked cautiously. "Deciding," Jungkook replied. His fingers moved. Jimin's eyes widened. "Jungkook." "I'm not posting anything reckless," Jungkook said softly. "I'm just tired of being edited." He typed slowly, deliberately. "Tonight was intense. Some moments aren't scripted. Thank you for feeling them with us." He looked at Jimin. "Too much." Jimin read it again. It wasn't a confession. It wasn't denial either. It was honest, in a way that didn't apologize. "Post it," Jimin said quietly. Jungkook pressed send. The world reacted instantly. Some celebrated, some questioned, some demanded clarity, some accused. But for the first time that night, Jungkook exhaled fully. Jimin stepped beside him, shoulder brushing his. "We just made it worse," Jimin murmured. "Maybe," Jungkook admitted. Their phones continued buzzing relentlessly. Jimin looked at him, fear still present but softened by something steadier. "If this collapses, we collapse together." Jungkook turned to face him fully. "Together." The word felt different now, not secret, not half-claimed. Whatever storm was building online, whatever meetings awaited at dawn, whatever consequences might follow, they had crossed an invisible threshold. Not on stage, not under fireworks, but here in a quiet hotel room, choosing to stop pretending. And this time, the honesty wasn't accidental. It was deliberate. By sunrise, the silence before the storm was gone. Jungkook woke to the sharp vibration of his phone against the nightstand, the screen lighting up the dim hotel room in cold blue flashes. He hadn't really slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw headlines multiplying like fractures in glass. Across the room, Jimin was already awake, sitting upright on the edge of his bed, elbows on his knees, staring at nothing. The city light filtered through the curtains, gray and unforgiving. "You saw?" Jimin asked without looking at him. Jungkook didn't answer immediately. He opened his phone. International media had picked it up. Not just fan forums anymore, articles, analysis, panels debating authenticity versus marketing manipulation, commentators dissecting body language, old clips resurfacing, every lingering glance from the past decade recontextualized. And then there were the harsher ones. Accusations of deceiving fans, accusations of exploiting ambiguity, accusations of crossing cultural lines. Jungkook inhaled slowly. "It's bigger than I thought." Jimin gave a humorless smile. "It always is." Another message arrived. "Mandatory meeting, headquarters, immediate departure." Jimin stood, smoothing his shirt with mechanical precision. That was his coping mechanism. Control what he could, adjust his collar, align his posture, perfect the mask. "You don't have to say anything you don't want to," Jimin said quietly. Jungkook's eyes lifted. "Neither do you." They rode to the company building in near silence. Outside the tinted car windows, fans had already gathered, phones raised, faces anxious. Some held signs of support, some shouted questions. "Are you together? Was it real?" Jimin's heart pounded so loudly, he thought it might be audible. Inside the conference room, the atmosphere was sterile and sharp. Executives sat across from them, expressions calculated. One of them spoke first. "This has escalated beyond acceptable risk." "Risk?" "Not feeling, not truth." "Risk?" Jungkook felt heat rising in his chest, but forced himself to stay still. "We need a clear statement," another executive continued. "Ambiguity fuels speculation." Jimin nodded automatically. "We understand." Jungkook didn't. "What exactly do you want us to say?" he asked evenly. "That it was performance," the first executive replied. "That the chemistry fans perceive is intentional artistry." Jungkook's jaw tightened. "So lie." The word hung heavy. The executive's gaze hardened slightly. "Clarify." Jimin's pulse spiked. He glanced at Jungkook subtly, a silent warning. Jungkook, Jimin said softly, we can phrase it carefully. Jungkook turned to him, eyes intense, carefully enough to erase it. The room stiffened. This isn't about erasing, the manager interjected carefully. It's about protecting careers. Jungkook leaned back in his chair, fingers interlocked tightly. What if the truth isn't destructive? One executive exhaled sharply. The industry is not built on hypotheticals, it's built on perception. And what if perception is already changing? Jungkook countered. Jimin's breath caught. He had never seen Jungkook push this openly. Be realistic, the executive said. There are markets that will not respond kindly. Jimin spoke then, voice steady but strained. We're aware of that. Jungkook looked at him, something unreadable flickering in his eyes. The discussion stretched on, numbers thrown around, potential contract penalties subtly implied without being directly stated, consequences layered beneath polite language. Finally, the manager slid a draft statement across the table. Jimin picked it up first. The words were safe, clinical, detached. Deep friendship, passionate performance, grateful for support, please refrain from speculation. It felt like reading a stranger's script. Jungkook didn't reach for it. Sign and post, the executive said, we'll handle the rest. The room felt smaller. Jimin's fingers trembled almost imperceptibly as he held the paper. He imagined the relief of stability, the quieting of controversy, the return to predictable normal. He also imagined Jungkook's face last night on the balcony. I can't, Jungkook said quietly. The words cut through the air like a blade. Every head turned toward him. I won't sign something that makes it sound like nothing happened. Jimin's heart slammed violently. The executive's tone sharpened. Are you refusing company guidance? I'm refusing to erase myself, Jungkook replied, voice steady but thick with emotion. Silence detonated. Jimin's instincts screamed to intervene, to smooth the edges, to prevent escalation. Let's take a moment, Jimin said carefully. We all want what's best. Jungkook turned to him, hurt flashing briefly. Do you? That question hurt more than any executive threat. Of course I do, Jimin said, voice cracking despite himself. Then why does it feel like I'm fighting alone? The room forgot to breathe. Jimin's composure fractured. You think this is easy for me? You think I don't feel exposed right now? The executives shifted uncomfortably as the conversation slipped beyond corporate control. I have spent years being careful, Jimin continued, eyes burning, careful with every word, every look, because I know what this world does to people who don't fit neatly. Jungkook's expression softened, but he didn't retreat, and I've spent years pretending that careful means silent. One executive stood abruptly. This is not the place for personal confessions. Jungkook met his gaze without flinching. That's exactly the problem. The manager's voice dropped to a near whisper. Jungkook, think about the members, think about everything you've built. I am, Jungkook said. I'm thinking about what it costs. Jimin felt tears threatening again and hated himself for it. Vulnerability in this room felt dangerous. He turned to Jungkook fully. If we push too hard, they will push back harder. Let them, Jungkook replied. You're not invincible, Jimin snapped. And neither are you. The tension between them crackled, personal and professional boundaries collapsing in real time. One executive leaned forward coldly. If you cannot align with company direction, there will be consequences. Jungkook held his stare. Like what? The threat remained unspoken, but understood. Jimin's breathing became uneven. The magnitude of what was happening settled over him like gravity. He stood suddenly. Stop. Every eye shifted to him. Jimin looked at the statement in his hand, then at Jungkook. I don't want to lie, he said quietly. The admission shocked even himself. The executive's expression hardened. Are you both refusing? Jimin swallowed. His entire life had been built on discipline and restraint. But he was tired too.